Hey YouTube, thanks for getting back to the part 2 of changing out the garbage Motorcraft Autolite carburetor, whatever the heck it is, on my 76 F250 camper special. It's a 460 factory 4-barrel, and in the first segment of this video I thought we would do this all in one take. I realized that the spread bore Ford carburetor is not the same as spread bore GM or Mopar. Why, I don't know, but anyway. And I also realized I didn't have stud lengths correct to put all the plates on that I needed to, so I had to run down to Napa, and of course they had them, and we got the carburetor bolted on. Down at the bottom between the intake manifold and the factory Ford plate, I didn't really have a gasket to come in these kits that worked that. But what I remembered is that carburetor kit that I bought for this thing a year ago had one, and of course I'm too cheap to ever throw anything away, and I remembered where it was, so I grabbed that gasket, which fit great under that factory plate, and it kind of blocked off those little heat riser holes. There were just some little cutouts in the intake manifold and in the heat riser, or in that plate. I guess they're just heat risers, so they don't go anywhere, so just block them off. Put another gasket on, then the adapter plate, another gasket on, and then the carburetor. So it has the adapter on top of that factory Ford plate that was underneath the stock carburetor. Got all the bolts tight. I just need to check this one rear one here because I couldn't get a socket on it. Don't go crazy with these things. This is all aluminum. And then the kickdown is not going to work without some modifications to the arm. We'll have to do that. And then make sure you've got full throttle and nothing binds, right? It kicks back by itself without even a return spring on it, okay? Very important, very important, very important. Okay, now let's get everything else hooked up that we need to. The fuel line, let's get it up. Perfect there. Nut driver, 1/4 inch nut driver. There we go. Okay, there's a vacuum line back here, and there's a plug on this carburetor for it. Oh boy, she's a little tough. She's a tough. See if we can break my scraper. There we go. Get the plug off. Plug the line in. There we go. Vacuum advance. I'll have to look in the book, but I'm going to go from memory and say that this side port is vacuum advance, but I'll check it. And if you're doing one of these, check your book, because Holley's route their vacuum source is different than others. All the other items are plugged off, so what we have now is the throttle linkage and the springs to hook up. So, return springs here. We'll do that. I should just hook the throttle up first. Let me get one of the fittings. Is this correct? So these come with these eyes, and you basically select a hole, whichever one lines up best to your throttle linkage or cable throttle, whatever you have. This has linkage, and it lines right up to here in good shape. So I need a nut for this bad boy. Should be some of them in this kit. That looks like a good one right there. It is not. What else we got? Oh, here's a different one. that looks like that one. This is a little smaller diameter one than the one I just had. It fits that smaller hole. That too lines right up, so let's use that hole. We can do this without dropping it. I'm going to need a smaller wrench than I have here to tighten that up. I don't have it handy. This is not the right tool. I did not suggest you use that, but one more. But it is tight. I will go get a better wrench and double check that. And this should snap right in there. Come on, baby. Come on. It is not fitting properly. Are these different sizes? I wonder. Is that smaller? I think it is. I think we're changing it out. I didn't know that they made those little balls in different sizes, but it sure seems to be it does not fit well. And we don't need that. So we're going back to this other one. Just need to find the proper nut for it. Should be one in here. Bingo. And this one required a slightly bigger hole, which is just below the one we were just in. Good news is I probably got a wrench for it. Bad news is it's not threading on all the way by hand. But it does look 7/16. Come on, long-winded. There we go. There, now I have to remember that. Because it is wrench tight. Hopefully it fits this time. Because they only gave me two. Click. Now we got it. So, I still have this kick down lever and I've got to tie it out of the way. Is everything kind of sitting here? I think so. So we have fuel line up, the carburetor's bolted down, vacuum lines are on. Return spring, throttle linkage. I need to tie that kick down lever out of the way, but we can start it. We just can't drive it. For now, on the choke, I'm just going to loosen it up and back it up. And because I didn't have electric choke before, which means I don't have a hot wire out here for it, and I need to run that. But it's 80 degrees outside right at the moment. So we'll just back it up. Wow. Until the choke opens up, so we don't have to worry about a choke for the moment. Wow, how far does that have to go to open? Come on. Really? guess I'm going the wrong way. Oh yeah, it's definitely getting easier. Holy smokes, Glenn, there we go. Okay, it's just open. I was winding that sucker up. Now when this thing flooded out, it didn't do it like right off the bat. It would do it when you were running downtown to the store or something and turn a corner or decelerate or do something weird like that. And then will everything sit here and not fall apart? Let's start it. Let's start it. Can't drive it. We can start it. All I need is my key. Green truck, green key. So far, so good. This is old piece of garbage. See how she idles. I haven't even revved it or nothing. It's ice cold, hadn't been driven in days. Put you on a stand back here. See what you think. Squeaky belts. Well, so far I'm going to call that a success. What I've left to do is tie that kickdown rod out of the way for now. I'm going to have to fabricate. I'll show you a little closer on this side. I'm going to have to fabricate an extension for it. So this is the Ford kickdown. And when you're buying a carburetor like this for Ford with this kickdown rod, right here, you need to buy the carburetor with this kickdown. It'll say for Ford kickdown right on it. But with the extra height, with the adapter plate, and this is farther forward than the other one was. This wants to be more in this position, and it kind of goes up and down like this, so it needs to be like back here. So I'm gonna have to make an extension, maybe from here up to here, and then this has an adjuster on it right there, so you can fine tune the kickdown so it comes in a little earlier or a little later. If you're not familiar with the Ford kickdown, so when you're driving it and you go from first to second gear, it's vacuum that tells the transmission when to shift up. But once it's shifted up until it gets down to a certain speed, it's going to stay there. If you floor it, it won't kick down on its own if that rod's not hooked up. Which, if you want to manual shift it, who cares? But it's nice to have it connected. And for the moment, for the weekend, I probably won't take the time to build that adapter piece or to lengthen that rod. And I'll have to get a hot wire out here to hook up to the electric choke, which is how I ordered the carburetor. You can order them any way you want. Manual choke, electric choke, or no choke. That's not too cool for here anyway. So we definitely need a choke, but I think we're going to be okay for this weekend. I would like to hook up my, throw my old camper on this truck, and there's a vintage or a wood boat show over on the Oregon coast, and I would like to go, and I'd like to take this. So that's why I was kind of in a hurry to get the carburetor on. The one other thing from back in our racing days, this is a vacuum secondary, so it'll run on 2 barrels until the carburetor sees enough vacuum, and then it will pull in the secondaries. But if you had other ideas, there's this, here we go, this right here, this is the secondary rod, and this has got a slotted half moon shaped slot. If I could get that out of the way, you'd see that better. Like that. Now, if you were to take and put a bolt and a nut through here, you could turn this into a mechanical secondary, and you could set the point to where the secondary is open at any place along here, and when you operate the throttle, you can see the rod move. Wow, that is so stiff. I think I'm going to get rid of one of these springs. Holy smokes. I can't even move it. You can see the rod move down as the throttle, I open the throttle. So right in there, stupid thing, out of my way. So if you were to put the bolt in here, when the throttle gets there, like right there, it would start to open the secondary up. I'm not doing it with this, but if you were racing or street racing or whatever, you would then know exactly the throttle position to when your 4 barrels open up. Very predictable that way. It's the way we set our race cars up. And then you could also make sure that secondaries open up 100% wide open, and go from there. So I'm going to go check the book too right now and see if that's the proper place to connect the vacuum. As I recall, that is correct, but I need to double check. So that's it. Thanks for coming back and watching part 2 of the carburetor change out on my 76 Ford truck. I'm going to button this up, put my tools away, throw the air cleaner on, and to take it for a drive. Like I said, this thing didn't used to flood when I started up cold. I had to drive it for a while, and then it would flood, and then it would just flood like crazy. It would do it every time. So thanks for watching, commenting, and subscribing. Shout out to Summit Racing. I do a lot of research online when I purchase items like this. I look at forums and see what other people are using. You know, there are Holley lovers and there are Edelbrock lovers, and you know, I have some of each, and they've all done good by me. I usually figure out what it is I want, and I go to Summit Racing online. They seem to have a very competitive pricing. The shipping is free, and it comes quickly. This came on, today's Wednesday. This came yesterday, Tuesday. Would I order it Friday? So, I mean, in just a couple days, this stuff shows up. Never had any issues. They have a ton of stuff. I just I've never had an issue buying stuff at Summit, so I'll continue to do so, and we'll have another success story here. Thanks again, and we'll catch you on the next one.